Let me pose a question to everyone watching. Has there ever been an anime that you've watched that made you feel at peace? You didn't really think about any one area to that show, but just melted away as 12 or more episodes unfolded. That felt as if everything around you ceased to matter for a few hours while that series went on, and even years later, you still remember and appreciate that one-of-a-kind feeling. As for me, that's exactly what we're here to talk about today with an anime from JC Staff from 2016 known as Flying Witch. See, what makes Flying Witch so fascinating to me is I never claim it as one of my favorite anime, yet I tend to think about it a lot more than some of my personal favorites. There's something truly beautiful and peaceful with this series, and when explaining to someone what happens in its 12-episode run, the answer is honestly nothing of importance, as this series is simply a healing anime that anything that happens in any given episode unfolds organically and comes across as realistic and mundane. There's no conflict, no anime tropes, and zero overly energetic comedic scenes like with most anime, and honestly it's a show where a family will just go on walks, talk to one another, pick plants, and everything else that should be boring yet somehow comes across so magically. Flying Witch is set in a world with magic. The main character of the series, Makoto, moves in with her relatives at the start of the show, and over 12 episodes we follow her and her family explore their town with very little ever happening. Each character has basic attributes to them. With Makoto, she's bad with directions and gets lost pretty easily. But unlike with most anime where that would be a gimmick or gag, I found it, like many areas to this anime, to actually feel like something very real. Some people just get lost easily, and how they portrayed this girl to the viewer never felt overly anime or gimmicky like you'd expect. Even in a world with magic, the anime still manages to feel grounded to reality even when surrounded by the unnatural. Having a witch move into your house should cause for overly comedic and silly situations, but because every character from magical to normal are never really portrayed to be that eccentric, everyone naturally comes across as people who can act like themselves. Makoto may be an airhead, but with how she's presented to the characters in this world and with how they respond, everything feels believable, as if you're just watching a real conversation play out. The simplest of areas, like how a household cat will act in this anime, are just designed to feel normal, which usually would be as boring as watching paint dry, but Flying Witch turns those scenes into something truly mesmerizing. So now you're probably asking, how can an anime that just feels like reality while not using magic in that interesting of ways be entertaining? Well, the answer is quite interesting, but unless you see these episodes unfold, you might not believe me. For every episode you watch, the anime will take you on some sort of a journey. Maybe they go to a cafe, maybe Makoto wants to pick some magical plant life, maybe it's just a typical family scene. But because each character feels genuine and not artificial, with not one character being a trope to gain the viewer's attention in a cheap way, the way the most basic situation can play out almost always comes across as peaceful and entertaining thanks to the magical elements sprinkled off and on. The way characters will help strangers, appreciate the beauty and people around them, that in a world surrounded by magic, the true magic comes out in what each and every one of us sees around each other in any given day. Even when you see a character on a broomstick, they manage to make a scene such as that feel completely real and natural. You will have a normal kid such as Chinatsu, who should be the typical hyper-energetic anime trope, but is a pretty normal kid who doesn't overreact, and when something does make her respond with a different set of emotions and reactions, because you rarely see her like that, the scenes where she responds so differently actually will mean something. One of my favorite attributes to her is how she responds to strangers, and how the weirdest of scenes can play out, yet they'll still come across as grounded to reality even when you see a guy like this. Because of how natural comedic scenes like these are directed, you'll generally get a chuckle out of them without thinking it was a gag, but rather just a scene that was humorous by default without feeling like a forced joke. Having a solid cast of characters with different age ranges, some families, some friends, just go about their daily lives with no real overarching plot or antagonist, where characters just try to find things to do each day, ends up building into the perfect type of healing anime that's really out there. Because having characters appreciate the beauty in their friends and family, while sprinkling in just enough mystical elements into their world to spice it up enough so it is a little different than our own reality, as no one really overreacts to situations you'd think they would, builds Flying Witch into what I consider to be the perfect anime that, though may not be a personal favorite, it is one of the anime I think about the most and can go back to for a binge and easily lose track of time. There's no fan service, there's no real gimmicks or tropes past an exaggerated face here or there, but thankfully these kinds of scenes aren't overused, so you generally appreciate when they are present. You just have really genuine interactions around situations interactions that either come across as quite interesting or rather boring at first glance, but because each character responds uniquely to these scenes and all feel like normal and believable people, no matter what's happening on screen, the viewer will most likely be completely immersed. Like with most anime in this genre, Flying Witch has a phenomenal OST that each episode hits you with all the right musical scores to build this atmosphere that makes you want to melt. Certain tracks slowly eat away in the background, with others feeling like they could be next to the definition of magical in the dictionary with how breathtakingly phenomenal they truly were. With how cleanly each character model looks, with very few inconsistencies over the season, you get to bask in a world so visually stunning that even when you see the most simplistic scene, it's drawn in such a way that makes you appreciate that simplicity. Almost like how each day we get to see so much beauty in reality but pass it off as whatever. Since we've seen it so much, we no longer can truly appreciate how beautiful the world looks in any given day. Where with Flying Witch, it reignites our eyes and lets us appreciate the world once more. It may be a drawing, but it's as if this world, from its visuals to character writing, was meant to show the viewer how to appreciate the magic in the simplest of areas, and how you don't need a magic broom to truly see magic. That magic surrounds all of us each day if we take a second to slow down from our busy lives and take in the scenery and those we call friends and family. Flying Witch is an anime that has no real story, where you have a world of witches that don't actually shake up reality all that much from our own. Fortune tellers still exist, just this time they might be witches and not scam artists. Where the girl you go to school with just might be able to ride on a broomstick instead of her dad's Camaro. Where each episode takes you on a journey that really has nothing to it when you explain it out loud and what you just witnessed. But by the end of each episode, alongside at least one of the characters, you appreciate the simplicity in life and what you just experienced. Which is definitely something many of us need, as with how much information is thrown at us from the minute we log online each day, appreciating the simplicity of the countryside with good friends and family is needed more than ever. There isn't a single character that makes this anime or is really all that interesting by themselves, but because each one feels like a real person who adds something to a scene, because this isn't a cast where a character needed to always do something. When they were on screen, maybe they just said a few words, and that's that. Which is honestly okay, because how many times in our life are you with a group of friends but don't have too much to say? But when you do start talking, people are appreciating your input because you're not blabbering away every second of every day. The cast didn't always need to act or say something that important, so when they did, it meant all that much more. Seeing a group of characters presented and designed to be this realistic was the perfect direction to go with a healing anime such as this. It's possible you might watch Flying Witch and you won't see what I love about it. Maybe it's just a boring anime to you, but for me, when I first watched it and the countless times since, watching this late at night, typically after a hectic day, wanting to watch one episode of Flying Witch turns into 6 episodes without me noticing, as this anime takes reality and strips away the anxiety to it, and leaves us with just the essentials, those being our friends, our family, our world without the traffic and noise pollution, where we can just listen to the wildlife, see the colors of our world with very few headaches, and explore the most magical anime out there that doesn't use that much magic but relies on natural wonders to wow us. But that's all for this video. It's a bit different than what I normally tackle, but with how often I think about Flying Witch, I figured it was about time to make a video on it. It's really a series that, to truly understand it, you need to watch it yourself, but hopefully this video helps captures the wonder and beauty that I personally see in it, even if you disagree. If you have any thoughts on the video or the series in question, let me know yours down in the comment section below. Be sure to leave a like if you did enjoy, and subscribe to the channel if you happen to be new. There's also my Patreon, where you can help make videos such as these possible for as little as $1 a month. But until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.